Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. First Satsang in the new year. Quite open and uncertain what this year is going to bring. But let's go into it with a lot of confidence that we are not getting too much influenced by whatever is happening outside, and find the joy, the happiness of existence in ourselves. I'm hearing from people that because of the new strain of the virus, there is a lot of fear again out there. Let's not get into that current. But find the peace and the fulfillment, the sense of joyousness in oneself, and radiate it. Help others not to get into that fear. It's amazing what's going on. Nevertheless, it's just a magic show. It is not as real as it appears. That which makes the experience possible is totally unaffected by whatever is happening. Bring the attention back to that. Relax into that. Dive into that. Get rooted into that. Then observe what's going on from that perspective. Then nothing can really shake you up. Okay, let's start the dialogues. Is there anybody who would like to come in? Please come in.
Happy New Year, Werner.
Happy New Year, Rudi.
Yeah, after your words now, and for the last few weeks, I wonder if there is any meaning or difference for the meditation as by myself or in a sangha of friends that we are gathering around, because I had a sense that because of this ecstatic period, I found a lot of strength sitting together with people who are thinking in one way or another.
Yeah.
And even not by talking about that, we encourage or give strength to other people.
Right.
So can you say something about being in this process by yourself or in a group or by yourself inside of one group?
Yeah. Basically, theoretically, it doesn't make a difference at all whether you are by yourself or whether you meet with friends. But practically, for most of the people, it does make a difference because we are influencing each other more when we are close to each other. When we are, wherever you are always connected with everything, and especially with the whole of humanity. But if you are energetically in the same space, that connection is stronger and that influence is stronger. And for many people, it is very helpful to have the energy of the group, a group energy that is helping to make it easier to connect. Then, of course, you cannot all the time sit in the group, then you have to go out again, and there you have to connect by yourself as good as you can. But for many people, it is helpful to meet regularly, because then you encourage each other. Even when you are in the group, it's still each one's responsibility how well we are connecting, or how much we are just sitting there and dreaming away. But the fact that few people or more people or many people do that simultaneously in the same place makes it easier. And that helps to strengthen. And then after that, when people go out from such meetings, they feel often like their batteries are charged. And it's for some time a bit easier, even if the situation is not easy, even in trying circumstances, to keep some contact, some conscious contact. So it's certainly advisable. If it's possible, it's good. If one doesn't feel like going to join groups, we don't have to. It's not a must. But if the possibility is there and one feels well and encouraged and strengthened by it, certainly it's helpful.
Can you elaborate more about the process of radiating our positive things outside?
You don't have to do anything about that. Just be firmly rooted in yourself and it radiates all by itself. It's not that you have to imagine that you radiate. I mean, people may do all kinds of visualization, and if for some people that helps them to be connected, to visualize like that, then that's good. But just the very fact that you feel connected with yourself, that you feel basically at ease, at peace, that radiates all by itself. You don't really have to do something about it. Somebody who is at ease, somebody who is happy, is coming in a room with full of people, and that person is not thinking, now I have to radiate that happiness there in order to influence others, but people immediately start to react, feel. It's immediately a change of energy. If somebody comes in a room like that without them consciously doing something about it.
You know, in my native language, there's a common word that we use in order to say that we are aware for the good things that happened around us, and the same word we use for being able to say thank you for this positive thing.
I see.
So there is something that is negative by absorbing, and something that you have to do practically. You have to be active.
Yeah. But the action is simply to not hook into the negativity, not hook into the negative emotions and let your attention be pulled in a dark space. The action is to consciously turn to the light, to the expansion, to the joyousness. And then that is simply there. Like when you light a lamp, it's simply radiating by itself. It's not that the lamp has to make a conscious effort to radiate the light. And the more you are connected with yourself, the more you are like such a lamp that simply radiates. That there's not an action needed for that. The action is simply to make sure that you are connected to the light and not being sucked into the darkness. That's our responsibility.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
If anybody would like to come, please come. I have often, somewhere or other, mentioned that be a lighthouse, be a beacon, radiate. But right, it's not something we have to do. Just be yourself. Connect consciously with yourself, with that fountain of joyousness, with that unmeasurable depth of existence. And that is communicating itself. We may go out, we may be with people, talk with people, joke with people, or we may sit alone in our room, and still it's communicating itself, still it's radiating. Anybody want to come? Please come. Stop talking.
Good morning, Werner.
Hello, Klaus.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Okay, now not everybody who has to come has to send. Tell me again a Happy New Year. We wish all each other a beautiful Happy New Year. Huh?
I've had some holidays now, and it's been very good.
Good.
But also things come up. But generally, it's been mostly a very peaceful time, and I have celebrated a very unconventional Christmas and New Year, with not being with family or with friends, but mostly alone, and sometimes also in nature. And I also got to see some wolf traces one of the days.
I see.
But beside the point. But I think that also this has made me realize that it's an energetic feeling, but when I get into work, it's feels such a heavy energy. So it's been really good to be off, but I still see now I have to work because of all of the life expenses and those things. But I just wonder if you have some helping guidelines to like go into those environments where you feel like you're drained of energy because maybe of people, or I don't know what it is, but it just feels like when I go in that door, it just feels like the energy is lost. And now it's been a very light and beautiful time, just spending a lot of time alone and just going to nature.
I think the main reason why we feel often drained in that situation you have described is then when you enter the place, then you bring with you also a conscious or an unconscious fear that maybe you are not good enough, that you are not fulfilling whatever is expected from you. And then the whole thing starts to cramp out already. And instead of being at ease and in touch with your creativity, you start to handicap it. So maybe it helps when you become aware in such a place. Oh, look what I'm doing again to myself. Remember those days when you are out in the forest, how you felt there, and try to connect with the feeling that you had then and bring that in the room. And imagine that after all, it's just looks slightly different, but you can you can also relax there. Think of the people that you are meeting. They are, after all, beautiful beings like the trees in the forest. Okay, they make a bit more noise. Whatever, I mean, anybody can find out one's little tricks for the mind, for oneself, but it helps that you can then see, okay, I'm just doing that to myself. It's not the situation. And then remembering moments where it was very different may help you in the situation also to relax and come on. You can also tell yourself, don't take it so serious. Sometimes what you're doing is perfect and sometimes it's not so perfect. Sometimes you succeed and sometimes you may blunder. So what? It comes, you learn from the experience, it goes, that's all there is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good, because I feel like there's a lot of what can I say? It's almost like it's you have to show you have skills and knowledge the whole time, you know, to prove yourself. So I get a bit tired of that, and I feel I don't have anything to bring to the table. So it's just, but it's a mind trick I need to see through on my own. It's not about the circumstances. It's about my own mind.
Right. It's our own fear that is draining the energy away. It's not really the place. It's right. You say you feel you have to prove yourself all the time, and then there is the fear, but maybe I don't succeed. Maybe I can't convince them.
Yeah.
Of my skill, of my ability.
Yeah.
Right. Remind yourself to relax. Relax your body. Relax your legs. When you become aware, oh, I'm all tense, just relax your legs. It already changes the mood.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You know, I have noticed that for myself, when there was tension and I started to observe more, I always had tense legs. And I observed this in people, when there is tension in the room, they are all tense, but especially the legs. If one can just remind oneself then also in the situation, just relax your legs.
Yeah.
It's like 90% of the tension may already go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be aware of that the next time, just to because the situation will come, and then it's easy to recognize, okay, this is happening now, and bring attention to the legs and just.
I remember when I was in Switzerland and doing jobs, that often also I felt like this when I came in, when I started, oh, more tense. And I would tell myself, relax, 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 but it didn't really relax. If I had known at that time that if I would consciously shift my attention at that moment to the legs and relax, it would have been much easier.
Yeah.
It's a simple trick, it works quite well.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody once, it's already years ago in a satsang, they, they asked me how to deal with fear when, no, with anger in the situation when they don't want to manifest the anger and the anger is there. And I said, well, redirect the attention to your legs and relax your legs. And the man came back after that and he was totally astonished how effective it had been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. So many is focusing on the breath, about the focus on your breath, and but I have never heard about the legs before. So
You still can breathe consciously and at the same time.
yeah,
It helps also to calm the mind.
yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Well, good luck in the new year.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om. I insisted all the time on relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. And actually, it is extremely important. What we hear in the tradition, if we want to evolve spiritually, we have to learn to detach. Nobody really knows, how do I do that? Detach, detach, okay. Sounds good, but what do I really do? And I found out by my own observations that when we are in a situation and there is an attachment and we are aware of the attachment and somehow try not to go along with it, that attachment manifests always in tension, physically, energetically, emotionally, intellectually. It is so helpful. Then just shift the attention on the easiest perceptible level, the physical, and start to relax there. And then the other levels like follow behind easily, much easier. So it's not for nothing that I keep on and on telling relax, relax, relax. It makes all the difference. Is there anybody who would like to come? Please come. "42 people are here. Nobody wants to say something? I'm hearing some sounds, but I think it's not intentional that the microphone is open. So I'm going to mute again all the microphones. And anyone who wants to come in, you have to unmute first.
Hello, Werner.
Hello. Ah, there we are again. Hello, Anita.
Hello, Werner.
It was funny because 2 hours earlier I was installing my studio here on the roof and turning the computer on and busy, and suddenly was Anita there.
Just waiting, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to talk to. I'm sure it's been asked of you before, but you know I forget a lot. So, about the role of regularly sitting.
Yes.
You know, I found after being in Tiru, all the practices I've been practicing on and off for very many years seem to be not necessary, you know. I mean, the practice that I do now is mostly just holding the heart space and presence.
Yeah.
You know, yes. Yeah. So I just wanted to ask your opinion on what you thought about the necessity for regular sitting or not.
Of course, that what you said is the main important thing, that no matter what, that you stay connected. And you said you do that with holding the heart space and what?
The heart space and staying in the present.
Staying in the present, right.
Yeah. And with always awareness in the heart space at the same time.
Right. That's very good.
That's what I try to do, you know.
It helps if we have every day some time where we just don't do anything else, where you can put your undivided attention simply doing that. Because when we are busy, then of course, more and more we can learn to do what you say, to be in the present, to hold the heart space, or any other means to be consciously in touch with that source, with that which makes the experience possible. But it's much easier than to forget and get lost in the things, and then okay, then we may come back again, but then vroom, the attention goes completely off again. And it helps if you spend every day some time where you simply don't do anything else, as good as you can, just that creates a certain current, it creates a certain strength, that after that it's easier when we are amongst people, when we are busy, to remember to do that. But that doesn't mean okay, just to spend every day some time sitting, meditating, not doing nothing else, and then forget about it. Do both. Have your time where you are doing nothing else and stay in touch with it as good as you can, whatever you are doing, wherever you are. I like to compare it with the Indian music. The Indian classical music has a basic note, and it's called the shruti. It's either played with the here in South India, it's either played with the tampura, that's a 4-string instrument. They are only playing with one hand, not the second hand doesn't make, it just goes on and
harmonics. Yeah, harmonics.
Right. It stays on the same note. And on top of that, the music is building up and going up and down, and the whole very sophisticated music, but it's always staying on the same note. So that's the shruti. And when you have every day some time where you are doing nothing else, it's like it's creating your shruti for your life. That you are creating a current that makes it much easier to remember, to connect. And even if you find yourself in a tense situation, if you have that shruti, if you have that basic current, it's easier to connect in spite of the tension. Maybe all you have to do is to relax and you're right there again. So try not to completely abandon that. If you have more inspiration and more time, you can increase it. And if you have less inspiration and less time, You can reduce it, but try not to completely give it up. Then, I mean, it's not, if one day it doesn't happen, then it's not a big tragedy, but it helps basically to keep that regularity. Even if it's just a short time, then that makes a difference in your capacity to connect also all the rest of the time. For that, it's helpful.
Thank you. Thanks for your advice. Yeah, for your opinion and your advice. Yeah.
You're welcome. Hurry home, hurry home.
I'll try that and I'll report back.
Yes, do that.
Okay.
Okay, hurry home.
Adios.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come in.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly. Anita, would you kindly turn off your camera again? Just, yes, because my connection is a bit fluctuating, and sometimes it would be possible everybody could have the camera on, but sometimes it's close to ejecting me from the from the room. So it's better everybody has the camera off. Okay, Nelly.
Yes, Werner. I just want to share. I want to share that last time I feel more easiness in my meditations.
Yes.
And yes, and feel myself more relaxed, and I see that it's. I feel much more pleasure. Yes, that's. I'm very glad
That's nice,
see
huh?
it. I understand. Yes, I understand that it can't be always, but at least now I feel very good with it. I put my attention on my breath in my nose, and I don't fix myself on my stomach much as I did before, where I felt more pain. And now I don't put attention there. I just, when I feel this pain, I just watch my breath again and my nose, and I see that I can understand that I have this tension, I have this pain, but I fix my attention on another object, and I feel that it helps me. It's yes, I feel it much easier, and I feel some pleasure, and a devotion part in my meditation helps me much. Yes, I feel something very beautiful in it, and feel so much relaxed and trust to existence, and so I like it now. Enjoy.
That's very good. That's nice to hear. That your meditation doesn't feel like a heavy duty work job that you have to do.
Yes, now it changed. Yes, it's much more pleasure and easy.
In case sometimes in between it doesn't feel like that, don't worry about it. That happens.
Yes.
Sometimes it's more pleasurable and sometimes less pleasurable. And it's not so important whether it's pleasant, but of course, if you have basically a nice feeling, it's much more inspiring to continue.
Yes, it is. I understand that it can't be always like this. I see, but at least I am happy that it happens from time to time.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. Yeah. Nice.
Okay. Thank you, Werner. Thank you very much for your support and encouragement.
And what you said, the devotional aspect, it's very true. I said the last time, it can feel sometimes a bit dry if you go about it without the devotion. But if somebody doesn't want to have anything to do with devotion, it's okay. It may just sometimes feel a bit dry. Eventually, it will also feel juicy. Eventually, it will feel also more full. But if you have that kind of mental setup that you are ready to combine it with a devotional attitude, it makes everything easier. It makes everything more joyous, definitely. It's nice. If you can have that and combine it with whatever you're doing, it makes it easier.
Yes, that's right. I really feel it, like I found myself my own way. Like I found something very something that is so close to me, very suits me. Yes, I just relax in it.
That's very good. Great. Continue like this.
Thank you very much, Werner. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come? Please come.
I would like to ask you, Werner, can you elaborate about the meaning of devotion? Because for me, from time to time, there is a confusion between devotion and commitment. Commitment for the process, a commitment for the meditation, and the sense of devotion is something more. Can you say something about that?
What I mean with devotion is that capacity to open your heart to something vaster than what I'm experiencing now. It can be very abstract or it can be very personal. One can have devotion for a guru, or one can have devotion for a god and be very personalized about it, or it can be very abstract, but just that capacity, that feeling, oh, there is something so infinitely beyond what I'm experiencing. Not simply think about it, but feel, okay, it's there, and after all, there is a connection, but there, at the same time, there is a longing to merge more with that. Of course, there can be a devotion to a task. This has a little bit of that in it, that in order to commit yourself to a task, you must have a certain devotion for it, that you feel it's worth the trouble to make the effort, that it's doing something good in one way or another. Now we can just increase that same feeling we may have for a task, for that mystery of existence. Previously, I used to think, okay, I do have to do my sadhana, I have to do my practice, I have to work, I have to struggle, and eventually there is that explosion, and then that's the end of the story. Then you have it all. Sort of, that's perfection, absolute, and that's it. But that attitude has crumbled down at a certain time, and I became aware there is just, no matter where you are, there is just like that infinity beyond. And devotion is the capacity to accept it, that it's there, and to open you to that. You know, devotion, we can also turn like everything. We can make everything into something egoistic. So even devotion can be become an ego trick. That, just to elaborate it, I tell with an anecdote from my story. When I was with Amma, I really had that idea. I want something. I want enlightenment. I want something, and being quite a pain for her, because I was often after her and do something and make something, and feeling very miserable about trying and not getting anything, and hoping, working and hoping something should happen, and nothing happened. And then one day she told me, "But you always make such a fuss. But I tell you, when I used to call out to God, there was such a bliss in it." And I thought, what bliss? For me, it's sheer misery. I told her, but she said, okay, experience may be different. And she saw I wasn't ready that she elaborates more at that time. But the devotion is not making oneself miserable. Devotion is not yelling to God, "Oh, look at my misery and see how bad I am, and see what's bad things that is happening." That is all. There may be a piece of devotion in it, but then we're taking over with our self-importance. Me, I want this, I want that, and me, I'm suffering, and me, please do something about me. But if we strip the devotion from that self-importance, that we don't have to impose on it, then the devotion itself is really blissful. The longing for infinity is self-fulfilling, because the longing is already full of joy. In the longing, you feel already the connection is there with something which is just beyond, and wherever you are, there is still the beyond. I'm not more hearing you. I see you talking, I don't hear a sound.
I'm saying that,
yeah,
sorry. I'm saying that sometimes the feeling of the quietness is in the same place where we realize that we are devoted for the something, we can call it whatever, the cosmic force or whatever, but there in this place where you realize that there is a lot of quietness.
Yes. Right. It's not an emotional thing. We may start out emotionally, but then it goes beyond the emotion. And there is a lot of quietness. The more we experience that quietness, the more we relax, let go in that quietness, then the more we become aware that quietness is at the same time joyous. It doesn't mean that we are in a perpetual ecstatic jumping experience. Ecstasy is an experience. It comes, it has a peak, it goes. But there is a joyous aspect to that peacefulness, to that quietness. And the more familiar we get with that quietness, the more we become aware of that joyousness. And the longer you deal with it, the more intensely it will be with you, just as a perpetual base in your life. It's not simply quiet, it's quiet and it's joyous, but not jumping, ecstatic, joyous, but the peaceful joyousness, the quiet joyousness. And when I talked about the devotion, that you tune into that more and more also, just by opening your heart to that mystery of existence, to that magnitude of existence, to that infinity that is there. If we don't overshadow it with me, I want this, I want that, self-importance, the more we just open to that, the more we connect with them, and the more we become aware of the joyous aspect of it. You can go on a very not devotional way and not feel that you are very devotional and become more and more quiet. And if you let go in that quietness, the same thing is happening. That joyousness of existence will be more and more part of your experience. But you can start out emotionally, devotionally, and become aware, okay, this is very superficial, the emotion, and go beyond that emotion. Become aware of the true devotion. And then the quietness that is being achieved by simple analyzing, by observing, by letting go, and the joyousness of the devotion, they come together. They are in the same space.
I would admit that from time to time I have this quietness feeling in the inner source of my body, very physical.
Yes.
And while it happened, even the level of the consciousness and the intellectual portion become quiet.
Yes.
And it's very fascinating for me. It caused me a lot of joy.
Yes. And when sometimes what happens when this starts to happen to people, then they think, but this is not the right one. It has to do with the body. It's like a body pleasure, but don't do that to yourself. Don't deny it and think it's something wrong. You can very well include the physical level. And basically it's familiar, because whenever we have a physical enjoyment, we get a little bit of that. and it's the same basic joyousness, but then if it's connected with that peacefulness, then you can feel it in your whole body. But it's not being limited to that level. So don't start then to think, oh, maybe it's wrong that I'm feeling pleasant in the body. Feel pleasant in the body by all means, but don't get attached to that and be open for beyond that. It's happening all by itself. One is relaxed.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
Thank you.
As you may have noticed, sometimes my image is a bit shifting up and down because it's winding, and I see on the mountain it's raining. I didn't expect it, because when I started the sky was quite blue. So in case the rain is coming, I will have to run down and get an umbrella. But if it doesn't come, we just continue. Is there anybody who would like to come in? Please come.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Lutz.
I want to ask you something about anger. I was attending one time a Zen meditation retreat, and I was sitting for some days, And after a while, I got very, very angry, so much that I could not sit anymore. And the meditation master asked me to take a break. He said, I see that you cannot kind of sit quietly now. So just go into a room and just take a day off from the session.
Yeah.
And just do nothing, just kind of be there. Yeah. And but I got so identified with my anger that I got angry with him.
Yeah.
And somehow I felt he had done something wrong to me or some kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
I started to kind of project some reasons why I'm angry about him, whereas I was just feeling anger. And ultimately, I run away from this retreat without his consent, just kind of escaping.
Yeah.
And I remember I was even going outside in the rain and kind of cursing him or kind of saying, I really gave it to you, something like this. I know that you are not happy that I now go away from here and something. So this happened something like 15 years ago, or maybe even longer. I do not recall it exactly. And also later on, I excused towards him, and I said, well, this was of course very childish, and this was nonsense, and la la la, and so on and so forth. And now, after all these many years, I find myself, this anger is still there. It is somehow, I'm not possessed by it. I think I would not, if I would really express it fully, I would not get so identified like those days. I wouldn't make some nonsense because of that, and I wouldn't maybe blame somebody else for making me very angry or something like this. I have matured in that way that I understand there's some anger in me, and sometimes it gets triggered. But actually, the thing is that the anger is there. There's something, some kind of, I would call it a sub-personality, or some part of my personality is angry about something. Maybe something happened 200 years ago, and I've brought it from somewhere else, or from my childhood, or I don't know what. Anyway, there's something in me which holds quite a bit of anger, and I know you have also had a time in your practice where you had to deal with anger. So how did you resolve that? Did you just kind of watch it and say, yeah, come out, or yeah? I mean, you had you didn't run away, obviously. You didn't get out of your little cave and cursed Amma for the whole place there, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, as long as we are feeling we are subject and in danger to it, you asked how I did. I mean, at that time, I couldn't simply observe it and let it go. So I somehow tried to control it. And that's what you're obviously often also doing. But then one has to be careful not to simply push it back in the subconscious and suppress it again. What to do with anger? As long as you are manifesting in a human form, then the whole range of emotion will be there as a possibility to manifest, as a possibility to somehow catch your attention and sometimes blow you away. But then we have often quite a lot of stuff in our subconscious. It doesn't really matter whether it's coming from our childhood or whether it's coming from 200 years ago. Somehow or other we have to deal with it now and get rid of it. Get rid of the destructive aspect of it. As I said, you cannot completely get rid of it. As long as we are appearing in this world in a human form, all the emotions are there. But if they are in their own place, where they belong, and if there is not some heavy weight attached to it from somewhere in the subconscious, then they don't become destructive, and one can spontaneously deal with them as they come. But as long as it's getting heavy, somehow or other we have to find a way of dealing with it. I mean, it may be helpful to sometimes express it very strongly, but preferably when you are alone in your room, scream in your pillow or do whatever. But it's the observing process is certainly the thing that is doing it gradually. Observe it, what it is doing to your experience right now in your body, how it is affecting your body. And there we can start to, instead of being stuck in the anger, the attention shifts and you observe what effect it has. And when you see what it is doing in your body and see how it's cramping up the whole body, how the whole body becomes like a brick, there you can start to work on it by simply relaxing your body. If your body starts to relax in that situation, then you don't fuel that emotion. You don't fuel the mind. We are fueling the mind that the anger is there and stays there, and maybe it gets bigger and bigger by all the levels contributing to it. If you just shift your attention from the anger itself, and usually once the anger is there, as you said, then it's fixing on something, then the neighbor is suddenly responsible for God knows everything that can go bad the whole day long. But then not fixing the attention on the anger or whatever we are attaching to the anger, but bringing it back to what it is doing to your experience right now. And start to work on that easiest level physically. Relax as good as you can. Maybe it helps to gently walk. Maybe it helps to run. Maybe it helps to just being sitting quietly on a chair, but relax physically. But then, for the moment, gradually, if we don't feed the anger, it will pass. Anger can sustain itself for longer periods because we find means to sustain it. We find means to feed it. If we stop feeding it, it may come, maybe a moment very strong, but if we don't feed it anymore for that moment, it will go away again. That doesn't mean that whole store of anger is then gone. It will come back again, but we are left with that job to, whenever it shows up, to somehow deal with it. Not to encourage it, not to justify it and think I'm right, they are all wrong, I'm right. But just do watch the anger. Watch what it is doing. Don't try to analyze the anger too much intellectually. Don't try to figure out where it's coming from. It's there, it's an experience, it's reality right now. See what it is doing right now. Include the body. See what it is doing to your body. and relax. When you do that, already all the emotions, all the thoughts that have been attached to that wave of anger that we thought, oh, this is wrong and that is wrong and who and he and that, is getting weaker. Because somehow the negative energy of the anger starts to dissipate out of our system when we see what it is doing in the body and relax on that level. That's, you don't have to go in search for the anger in order to somehow get rid of the store that is. Just when it comes up, deal with it as soon as you really become aware how totally you are again taken by the situation. Then instead of thinking, okay, I'm going to work on it at that moment, instead of justifying, but I have all the right to be so angry because they did this, they did that, just don't go into this escape, mental escapes, but just bring the attention to the present. See what the anger is doing right now and relax. And that is an exercise we can do again and again and again, but it's getting easier as we go along. And each time we do that, the store is being reduced without having to try to go to the source and find out where it's coming from. And it's just a store that we may have, and each time we treat it, that power of that habit is reducing. Whereas if we just go on repeating our actions and repeating our anger without being aware of it, there we keep on whatever is there strengthening. And sometimes there may be a moment of grace where just a whole big bundle of that stuff disappears. We can do that. What we can do is every time it comes up, to deal with it in such a way that it's not becoming destructive for you and your surroundings.
Yeah, I think the initial story which I presented with this Zen master and my kind of overwhelming anger was actually a bit misleading because this is not the state right now.
Right. But still, you said the anger comes. The anger is there.
Yeah. But those days, this was my kind of my way of expressing the anger and dealing with it in a way, we getting lost in it.
Yeah.
But nowadays, it is more. I feel more like something like there's a little angry dragon or grudging dwarf in me who also attacks other people. That's the kind of the most annoying thing, that I come across some people and suddenly there's some kind of hidden anger game going on. And actually I want to be a good person. Yeah. And I want to be a spiritual person and something, but somehow I feel there is this kind of underlying angry dwarf who wants to provocate other people and who also is basically angry or even more violent, kind of putting them down and something. So that creates some kind of strange situation, like I am two-sided, and there's some kind of sub-personality which is ruining my good, well-intended spiritual side. Yeah. So I haven't really found a way to deal with it. I feel it's also part of myself, and it also has some power, and I have to kind of embrace it somehow, but I haven't solved the riddle of that yet.
Yeah, right. I think one main thing is, okay, basically you want to be a good person, a spiritual person, a loving person, but it's still a self-image that we are creating like this. It's not what you are. It's a person, it's a role that we are playing. You are not a spiritual person and you are not a non-spiritual person. You are simply not a person at all. And I mean, for a long time that may be useful, that we want to turn our personality more spiritual and learn to overcome unspiritual traits that create always suffering and pain. But still, it's an image that I want to keep, that me, as nice spiritual person, deserves some admiration also from the world in one way or another, separate from the rest of existence. It's still the me, separate from the rest of existence. And if you want to get less bothered by the little badass personality that wants to create troubles and mock people and poke people and the spiritual personality and the tension between the two, then maybe consciously step a step more back and see them both as facets of a role of not what you are, but of the role that you are playing in this world, in this theater. The Lutz is a role, no matter whether he's spiritually behaving or unspiritually behaving. You are that which is aware of it. You are that which makes the whole experience possible. You are that you are touching when you are saying I, without thinking of Lutz and the whole story that belongs of it. But when you say I, you touch immediately that sense of presence, that most familiar sense of presence that doesn't really have a name. We name it then out of habit with the name that we got used to. But it's prior to everything that has to do with the whole story, with the spiritual guy and with the unspiritual guy, with the angry guy and with the kind guy. Prior to all that, there is that sense of presence. And if there feels to be that struggle between the two sides, somehow, in order to get out of that tension, come back home to yourself, to that sense of presence that is prior to the personality, prior to the spiritual personality, prior to the unspiritual personality.
I have heard that already.
I'm
before,
sure, many times.
From you and also from other teachers. But yet for me, it's a kind of, I feel it is like a riddle I have not yet solved. And I mean, I'm experiencing myself also as a witness to that all, kind of not identified neither with the angry something, nor so much with the benevolent, well-wishing something. I know that I am the kind of the awareness beyond, but still somehow I like to play like this, or but it seems so contradictory. It seems strange, and the end effect is also that I am kind of, I feel as if I'm getting nowhere. I'm kind of this like these two aspects in me are struggling, and somehow one has power and the other one has goodwill, and at the end not so much is happening, and there I am somehow. But yeah, anyway, you pointed out that the resolution to all this is just to be the awareness, to identify with the awareness and let these other things just happen and do not get identified with them.
Right, and your feeling that you're not getting anywhere is not correct. When we are in the middle of it, then it feels like this. But the very fact how aware you are of that struggle between those two main aspects shows that something is happening, because most of the time people are not aware, and then they are not going very far. But when that awareness is there, then of course you would like to get rid of it. You wouldn't like to have that uncomfortable struggle between two sides, but you're very much aware of what is happening, and that in itself helps already you detach, and the detachment process is on the way. Otherwise it wouldn't be a thing in your mind where you somehow want to work on it. It helps that you can accept, okay, that aspect is also there, the aspect I don't want. That doesn't mean you have to encourage it, but okay, if I want to have lots, that's part of it.
Yeah, that's not so easy, because I put heaps of judgment on
Yeah.
this.
Right.
Yeah, but now
as long as it's not manifesting in destructive actions towards you and other people, then there is no problem about it. If it's getting destructive there, it's good to learn to pull the brakes. But as long as it's not doing that, then when you see yourself in judgment about yourself and say, oh, after all, you are the bad guy after all these years, what's the point? You're still such a bad guy. There, you can cut that off and say, well, what's the point? Instead of that, just use that energy again to step back and observe the different factions of the personality from that perspective. And from that perspective, you are not judgmental. It's also a part of the personality who is judging the other part of the personality. We can become very neutral about it, just seeing it's there. And by neutrally observing it, it loses its power. It loses the destructive power, that power we don't want. Anyhow, you are not stuck somewhere. The very fact, the way you deal with it, that it's in your mind and you observe it, and that means the process is on and something is happening. Simply don't try to find the solution on the level of the problem. The solution is by being aware that actually you simply can step out of the problem, and then it starts to dissolve itself.
That makes sense to me, and is consoling me a little bit, and I feel I can also see more aspects of it. That in some way I am ashamed now about it, that I enjoy this struggle also. It's somehow it gives me some special kick. It seems like that. It's like a very spicy food or some kind of intensely, it gives some intensity.
Right. And it's perfectly well that you see that. And that's the thing why such stuff seems to be so difficult to get rid of, because part of us enjoys the whole story. But then at the same time, there is always that longing to go beyond. But then the old personality takes over even in that observation process of what's going on, and gets a kick out of, because it gives an intensity, at least to some degree. And there is always that fear somewhere in the personality, if I give that up, then I'm losing something. But actually we are gaining everything. But there's always that fear, if I'm giving up that little enjoyment, then I'm having something less. But it's not true. But we can squeeze out in all the most weird ways some drops of enjoyment by doing nonsensical personal stuff to it, to ourselves. Sorry, Lutz, I'm just running quick downstairs to get an umbrella. It's possible that in a moment.
I'm done. I'm filled. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going off for a moment because it's possible, and I don't want the computer and everything be wet like anything. Well, there I'm back again. It doesn't rain right now, but it just before it looked like it's just going to start, and I'm close to the wall, so the wind would have blown everything on the table, but maybe it doesn't come. All right, we have a little more time. If you like, anybody? Somebody come? Ah, yeah.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. You hear me?
Ah, yeah. Now I see you also, and I hear you.
Okay.
Hello, Anita. Second Anita today.
Yeah. Hello, Werner. You just said before that you are that which is aware of it, whatever it is. And so could you say, or could one say that what I am, that it is awareness?
Right. I mean, when we are on that job we have been talking about, then you can say, I am that which is aware of it. But awareness in itself is already the first expression of what you really are. And don't try to find any definition of what you really are, not even pure awareness. But that's as far as we can do something about it. That's as far we can at all aim. We can not understand pure awareness, but we can still understand the direction. We can see the difference between all the agitation and that some basic awareness that is not moving, and use our understanding to turn the attention in the right direction. And you can say, okay, I'm awareness. But what you really are is right behind that, prior to that. And there's absolutely nothing that can be said about it. The scriptures, the traditions, they may give words for it, but these are not really definitions, these are not explanations, but point us to something totally indescribable. The pure self. I. Ramana is using the I.
Aye.
The I. or Brahman, Para-Brahman, whatever the scriptures use as words, it's never really a definition. It's something, okay, we point and that's all that can be done. And pure awareness, pure love, pure life energy. This is the first, the subtlest expression. It's the base, the unmoving base, out of which the whole creation emerges, with all the movement, with all the changes. It's the changeless base, the pure awareness. So to aim for pure awareness is perfectly valid. You ask me, are you the pure awareness? You are even prior to that. But in the process of detaching from the me personality to focus as I, pure awareness is perfectly valid.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Shall we stop here, or shall we? Is there anybody who would like to say something more? Hello, there is
Werner,
Nelly.
Werner, yes. May I ask one more question?
Sure.
I thought about all these projections that we have, and what happens after when a person passes away. And I understand that we come here to learn, to have some lessons to grow. And if a person becomes realized in this life and he comes deep understanding inside and becomes conscious, like you, like Ramana, like Amma, what is going on with them? If I understand, they already get all the experiences. They don't react on something. They don't have strong reactions to anything, and maybe they don't need to come again here to get more experiences. They already have a lot of them and become realized. What's going on with them? Will they come to teach others, or they go to another spaces, or what's going on with them?
So first, I want to tell you, don't you dare to put me in the same category like Ramana or Amma, these spiritual giants. I'm a little boy in comparison.
I think you're too modest.
No. But essentially, we are all the same, of course. And when you become aware of the essence, when you become aware that this is all play, then the compulsion disappears, and you can absolutely not say what somebody who goes out then out of this game, what they are going to do, because there is the infinite of possibilities. Someone may decide to project sometime, somewhere, another projection in this game to teach, for some reason or other, or they may not. They may just, in any possible way you can imagine, or a lot more than we possibly can imagine. The decision can be what to do next. So there's no point in somehow trying to figure out what would somebody like this do after that.
Okay.
But
okay.
Previous, opla. Oh my God, my battery is running low, very low, and I think I'm not connected down to the current. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I do.
Oh yeah, it has just informed me. Let me see quickly. It's 10%. So so that I don't have to run down again. I mean, is your question answered?
Yes,
Or
okay.
maybe I run.
Okay,
I have one more thing to say, but if I'm not running down again, then my computer is going to shut down. So 1 minute. Huh?
Okay,
This one is very quick. Okay, I'm back.
okay.
Computer gets its food. All right. What I wanted to say to that subject, previous I used to think of beings like Ramana, and then anyone who is realizing they're totally in that same level, in that same space, and essentially they are. And yet the experience of that essence that keeps on unfolding. So there is a continuous unfolding movement even for a Ramana. He doesn't, you said he doesn't have the compulsion, he doesn't need to come back for this experience. Still, still he may decide, that being that projected Ramana in this world may decide to project another one in this world for the purpose of teaching, for the purpose of helping, at the same time getting richer themselves. Also a Ramana, also a Nama, also those great beings, also a Jesus or a Buddha, they keep on getting richer from moment to moment, but in totally different ways that the people usually could imagine on their own level.
Okay, I see.
There's no end to it. There's every being that projects into this story, or also not projecting in this story, but every being that projects in this story, however great lights they are spiritual, they still also get something out of it.
I see. Thank you, Werner.
Okay. Actually, in the context of that, it's something that I had resisted, but was good to understand that somehow because of the Christian upbringing, we have very much that idea that if it's really holy, if it's really good, it has to be a sacrifice only for the others, not for ourselves. That's the real spiritual thing. That's the real spiritual unfoldment. If we are totally selfless, serving only for the others. And it was for me a bit difficult to accept, becoming aware that no, you do ultimately everything for yourself. But that identification with the self can very expand. But the one who is doing the job, the selfless job, is the first who is benefiting from that. And if everybody else who comes in contact with him or her is also benefiting, so much the better. But it's always that the one who is there is getting out something from doing that work. That even if it's the most selfless work, still they're getting enriched by it.
Yes, I see. I see. Thank you. Thank you, Werner.
Okay. I think then we stop for today. I've been running up and down, but let us stop. the official satsang with this Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.